All because of one girl's lie. A black maid was brutally whipped 5 times by a white pastor, a man who symbolized power and order. Under overwhelming pressure, the maid was eventually forced to confess a crime she never committed. If a single lie can destroy a person, what kind of chaos could erupt when an entire group chooses to lie together? Not just today, even in history, mere words have pushed people into the darkest of places. This is the story behind The Crucible, adapted from the iconic stage play by playwright Arthur Miller, and inspired by a horrifying real-life tragedy, the Salem witch trials. Set in 17th century Massachusetts, a town governed by strict religious law, a group of young girls carry a secret known only to themselves. Late at night, they sneak into the forest to play a mysterious witchcraft game. Deep in the woods, they mimic dark rituals, carefully draw magical symbols, light bonfires, and even brew a symbolic frog soup. Among them, a black maid is chosen to play the role of the witch. Each girl clutches a token and prays fervently for love to arrive. Among the group, one girl named Abigail stands out. She's madly in love with a man named John, and her passion for the game far exceeds the others. But their secret ritual doesn't escape the eyes of the town's strict pastor. When the pastor suddenly appears in the woods, the girls once lost in excitement are thrown into chaos. 2 young girls, the pastor's daughter and a local landowner's daughter, are so terrified they collapse in fear. Back home, the girls fall into a strange sleep. Though the doctor finds nothing physically wrong, the incident leaves the townsfolk deeply confused. When the villagers finally leave, Abigail, the pastor's niece, denies everything that happened in the forest. But her uncle already knows the truth, and he's fully aware the secret could eventually come to light. Especially in a time when power struggles within the church are fierce, the pastor cannot afford to leave any room for doubt. So after careful thought, he pushes Abigail to accuse the black maid of being a witch, claiming she had performed a dark ritual that very night. Abigail understands what's at stake. She knows the pastor's daughter is likely faking her illness to avoid punishment. They're all terrified their secret will be exposed. To shift attention away from themselves, Abigail starts spreading rumors, trying to bury the truth beneath lies. As the rumors spiral out of control, the pastor calls for a town-wide meeting, declaring that to restore peace, he has invited a demon expert from the city. This exorcist is said to have extensive experience identifying witches and demons and promises to bring calm to the community. But Abigail and the other girls quickly realize how serious the situation has become, and they attempt to wake the pastor's daughter, hoping she will speak the truth and clear everything up. However, the moment the girl opens her eyes, she appears deeply disturbed, as if truly possessed by some otherworldly force. Her hysterical behavior draws a crowd at the town assembly, and the villagers begin to whisper, convinced this must be a sign of demonic influence. Yet, an elderly woman in town holds a different view. She believes all of this is nothing more than the girl's mischief. Meanwhile, several prominent figures arrive at the pastor's home, including the town's wealthy landowner, the respected elderly woman, and the well-liked villager John. Both John and the older woman oppose the decision to bring in a demon expert, fearing it will only worsen the chaos and provoke even greater panic. But the pastor and landowner, worried about their own children's strange behavior, insist on summoning the exorcist to purify the town. As the others leave the house, Abigail quietly pulls John aside. She shares her fears, suggesting that everything may just be a misunderstanding, a blown-out joke. Yet beneath her concern lies something deeper: her lingering love for John. Years ago, Abigail had worked in John's home as a servant, where a secret affair had bloomed. But once John's wife discovered it, she was immediately dismissed for her immoral conduct. Ever since, Abigail has longed to rekindle their forbidden relationship. No matter how hard she tries, John refuses to let himself be consumed by desire again, and he gently rejects her advances.
I know you, John Proctor. You love me. Whatever sin it is, you love me yet.
Soon after, the exorcist arrives in the town. He begins by carefully examining the pastor's daughter, searching for any trace of demonic possession. Then, he leads a group to the landowner's home, where he inspects the man's child. There, the pastor unexpectedly mentions the girls dancing in the forest, a detail that shocks the exorcist. Immediately, he demands to see all the girls involved for further questioning. Under the pressure of the interrogation, cracks begin to form within the group. Desperate to protect themselves, the girls start pointing fingers at each other. In her panic, Abigail pins all the blame on the innocent black maid. Tituba, furious, the pastor lashes out with his whip, trying to beat the truth out of the maid. Abigail joins in, heartlessly piling on false accusations, claiming that her laughter during prayers was the result of the maid's magic. and inventing stories of demonic nightmares and strange songs sung by Tituba. With no power to defend herself, and tortured by the relentless whipping, Tituba finally breaks under pressure. She gives in to the white authority, and begins pretending to be a witch, fabricating even more fantastical tales. Soon, they all gather in the pastor's daughter's room, asking Tituba to use her supposed powers to awaken the girl. Now fully stepping into her new role, Tituba dramatically enacts the signs of demonic possession. She even accuses the elderly woman of being a witch too. This moment sparks a frenzy. Abigail and the other girls see an opportunity. One by one, they begin mimicking Tituba, taking turns accusing others of being devil's servants. Even the pastor's daughter, once thought to be unconscious, suddenly joins in and starts naming names.
I saw Goody Osborne with the devil!
Hallelujah! Glory be to God! It is broken! They are free! Where's the marshal? Arrest Sarah Osborne!
The growing list of accusations catches the attention of city authorities, and soon, a senior judge personally arrives in the town to begin trials. The first to be brought to court are two homeless women. One of them, already mentally unstable, quickly confesses to being a servant of the devil. The other woman, knowing this is all a setup by the girls, furiously confronts Abigail. But Abigail stands firm, and with the girls backing her, they dramatically claim that the old woman used magic to attack them. In such a suffocating atmosphere, the town's farmers began accusing one another of witchcraft. One woman was arrested simply because her sheep wandered into a neighbor's yard, and in a moment of frustration, she cursed aloud. That curse was overheard, reported, and she was swiftly dragged to court and unjustly branded a witch. In another scene, a cart driver lost his balance over a bumpy path, and the falling wood was seen by a mother and her child from a distance. Incredibly, these two witnesses were also accused and absurdly labeled as witches. Even worse, a wealthy landowner, driven by personal grudges, instructed his daughter to testify against an elderly man with whom he had long-standing land disputes, accusing him of consorting with the devil. This ridiculous circus turned the courtroom into a farce, as even the spectators couldn't help but mock the proceedings. Though many were filled with helpless frustration, one of the girls involved in Abigail's falsehoods worked as a servant in John's house, and John knew well that the girls were all lying. He wasn't pleased with the servant Mary's behavior either. Trying to win her master's favor, Mary crafted a doll and gifted it to John's wife, and she also revealed that John's wife had been accused of witchcraft, though she had pleaded on her behalf. John's wife immediately sensed that Abigail, her husband's former lover, must be behind the accusation, and she was right. Abigail wasted no time. She showed the judge a needle prick on her stomach and claimed it was the result of a witch's curse. That very night, investigators searched John's home and found the doll Mary had given to his wife. Luckily, Mary bravely stepped forward and admitted the doll was her gift. She explained the needle had been accidentally left in its belly after sewing. She pointed out that Abigail, who was sitting beside her at the time, had clearly seen the entire process, all evidence suggesting Abigail had set the whole thing up. Hearing this, the exorcist began to doubt the claims against John's wife, but to prove her innocence beyond all doubt, John's wife agreed to a deeper investigation. Later, as the crowd dispersed, an enraged John demanded Mary tell the truth in court. He could not allow his family to be falsely accused and harmed any further. So the next morning, John took Mary to court. Faced with Mary's new testimony, the judge paused, then quietly told John that his wife had been found to be pregnant during initial examinations. By law, she would be spared punishment for at least the duration of the pregnancy. It was a subtle message: drop the case. But John knew this wasn't just about his wife, it was about the town's descent into madness. He firmly insisted on exposing Abigail and the other girls for their lies. During the next hearing, John had Mary submit a detailed written statement to the court. After reviewing it, the judge called Abigail and the girls to testify in person. He sternly warned them, if Mary was lying, she'd face the gallows, but if Abigail and the others were lying, they would all be forced to confess their sins publicly. Under questioning, Abigail stood firm, insisting John's wife used the doll to curse her and cast demonic spells. One judge turned to Mary and questioned why she once pretended to be possessed, fainting and shaking on the courtroom floor. He asked her to recreate that experience to prove she had been faking it. Mary tried, but no matter what, she couldn't reproduce the cold, shaking feeling. In contrast, Abigail quickly and dramatically faked the symptoms, pointing at Mary and accusing her of lying. Crushed by the impossible pressure, Mary panicked and fled from the questioning. At his breaking point, John confessed to having an affair with Abigail. revealing it was all jealousy and revenge. But Abigail vehemently denied everything. To prove the truth, John asked that his wife be brought into the courtroom, hoping for a three-way confrontation. But when John's wife entered, perhaps out of pride or unwillingness to air their scandal publicly, she denied John had ever committed such an act without even speaking to him first.
Is your husband an adulterer?
No, sir.
Remove her.
Elizabeth, I've confessed it.
Oh, God.
Stop now!
Denial inadvertently reinforced Abigail's credibility, giving her even more power. Seizing the moment, Abigail immediately shifted tactics and led the girls in yet another intense performance.
Beneath the rafter! Why do you come, yellow bird? But you cannot want to tear my face! Envy is a deadly sin, Mary! Oh, this is a black arm to change your shape! Abby, I'm here! Oh, no, Mary, don't come down! I'm not hurting her!
Why does she see you up there?
She sees nothing! She sees nothing!
Have you compacted with the devil?
Never!
With dramatic tears and emotion, they overwhelmed Mary, who broke down completely, crushed by the staged hysteria and unable to fight back. Mary fled the courtroom, running all the way to the murky seaside. Following the crowd of frenzied girls, perhaps out of fear, Mary suddenly embraced Abigail and, completely reversing her stance, turned to accuse her employer.
I go your way no more! I love God!
He bid you do the devil's work?
He come at me by night to sign
Sign what?
The devil's book? He come with a book?
my name. He want my name. I'll murder you, he says, if my wife hangs. We must go and overthrow the court, he says. No, I go your way no more.
This girl's gone wild! John Proctor, will you confess yourself? Or do you keep that black allegiance yet? What say you? I say God is dead!
It was these blasphemous, faithless words that sealed the fate of John and countless other innocent townspeople. They became lambs led to slaughter, hanged in batches from the gallows. At first, Abigail and the crowd watched from below, even with a trace of smug satisfaction on their faces. But as more and more innocent lives were taken, the once powerful Abigail became a target of public hatred, shunned like a rat in the street. Even the pastor, who had always defended his authority, began to feel the fury of a town driven by justice, his status now hanging by a thread. Sensing danger, Abigail stole her pastor uncle's savings and tried to escape with John, who was awaiting execution because, despite everything, she still loved him.
They mean to take you this morning. There's a ship in Boston Harbor. It's bound for the Barbados. I have money for the guard. I must board ship, John. Will you not speak?
It's not on a ship we'll meet again, Abigail, but in hell.
But faced with a broken and bitter John, Abigail had no choice but to flee alone. Her escape confirmed everyone's suspicions. Her lies were finally exposed. The chief judge found himself in deep conflict. The town was drowning in bloodshed, with some people still locked in prison, and the entire situation had spiraled out of control. In desperation, the judge summoned John's wife from prison, hoping she could convince her husband to confess in exchange for her own freedom. On a cold, windswept shore, John reunited with his wife. It was as though time melted away. They opened their hearts to one another, expressing a love that had never wavered, wanting to spend the rest of his life with her. John resolved to survive, but there is no redemption without cost. To live, John would have to confess to being a servant of the devil and worse, name others who were still imprisoned. Even more humiliating, he would be forced to sign a written confession, and that confession would be nailed up publicly for all to see. Yet John's conscience refused to be crushed by fear. He outright refused to falsely accuse the innocent. Despite the pain and inner turmoil, he ultimately signed the confession. But the moment the ink dried, he realized this was a betrayal of his soul. He tried to take the confession back. When the judge demanded he hand it over, John, a man of honor, could no longer live with the lie. Choosing integrity over survival, John, along with two other wrongly accused victims, did not escape their fate. Their brave voices, rising against authority, echoed under the vast blue sky, tragic and unforgettable. And thus, the film ends. The Crucible, one of the great works of Western realist theater, draws its power from its unflinching exposure of society's darkest instincts, and its penetrating portrayal of human complexity. Arthur Miller's pen, like a surgeon's scalpel, dissects the human capacity for slander, deception, revenge, and guilt by association, laying it bare for all to see. This story leaves audiences not just feeling confused, repressed, angry, helpless, and heartbroken. It also reveals a fearless spirit rising from despair, bringing light to darkness. John's final cry before execution, "God is dead," is particularly striking in an era ruled by religious authority. Like a lightning bolt, his words tear away the mask of the so-called righteous judges who used God's name to hide their own self-interest. His courage, his demand for truth, his defiance of injustice, all these shine through, elevating the Crucible beyond a tragedy into a powerful commentary on the human spirit. Human nature can be noble or corrupted. The difference lies in how we choose when faced with trials. And false accusations can destroy humanity, but they can also reveal its highest virtues. I'm a film enthusiast. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.